Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Mary Puzikowski. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Studies, and thank you so much for joining our final information and application tips session for the Master of Legal Studies program here at UCLA School of Law. I'm joined today by Assistant Dean Jason Fisk. We will hear from Dean Fisk in a little bit. I like to ask him questions. Dean Fisk sits on the review committee. So he's a great asset to have on one of these sessions where we get some tips about the application. So I'll be asking him some questions later and to help give you tips as to how best to, how to best put your foot forward in terms of the application. So we are still accepting applications for fall 2024. It was due to high increase in terms of demand with some people, just recently learning about the program and needing some time to apply. So the final deadline is June 3. So it's coming up, but there is still plenty of time to apply. From now until then, there is still plenty of time to work on your application and get your application in. A little bit later in this session, we'll go through exactly what's required of the application, and that's when I will rope in Dean Fisk to give you some tips along the way in terms of the supporting documents. But in terms of the application upcoming deadline of June 3, so we are on rolling admissions. You don't have to wait until June 3 to apply. You can, if you've got your application done and ready to go, you can submit today. And the earlier that you submit your application, really the earlier you kind of hear back from us, and you'll beat the rush that happens when June 3 hits and we get more applications that come in on that deadline. So definitely beat that pack. We are enrolling admissions, like I said, so if you apply today, you can potentially hear back from us even before maybe that June 3 deadline. So like I said, we'll go through the application in just a little bit, but you'll see this QR code that's appearing on all of these slides. The QR code is going to take you directly to our request an application page. That's where you will enter in your details, and you'll get an email from us that has the link to request the application and start your application on the UCLA Graduate Division application portal. It will also have some tips there, but in terms of what to put in terms of the application, but I'll go through that in just a little bit. So in case you're wondering what the QR code is, if you scan it, it will take you directly to our request an application. So just a little bit more about the program itself, particularly those that might just be learning about the Master of Legal Studies program. So this fall 2024, we have what's probably the more exciting part and most exciting feature for this year, and that is we have our online and hybrid option. So Dean Fisk is here, so I'm going to get him to just explain why we decided to include now an online hybrid format for the Master of Legal Studies program, and how that really fits into why UCLA Law created the Master of Legal Studies program to begin with. Dean Fisk.
Thank you so much, Mary, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for learning more about our program. And the Master of Legal Studies program started in 2020, and so we're now talking to you all about being part of our 5th incoming class to the program. And at the time, it was originally conceived because for all time before this program, the only way you can get any sort of legal education from a school like UCLA School of Law was to become a lawyer and to be in the JD program. But the faculty knew that there's just so many more people who could really benefit from this level of education, from this level of school. And so thus they created this degree for those who don't need to become a lawyer, but do want a sophisticated understanding of the law. Then once the program kind of got going after a few years, it's been fantastic. We've had lots of amazing students in, but we very quickly saw that there's just so many people that are hindered from having to come to campus so many times because, as you know, most of our students are working professionals. Now we do have a number of recent graduates, but for all the working professionals, naturally coming to campus multiple times a week is quite challenging, particularly if you're not located right next door to campus. And so thus, this year we're launching for the first time the option of doing the program hybrid or doing the program online, which we'll talk about more soon. But we knew that this would drastically increase the audience that would be actually able to do the program and make it a much more accessible option to just so many different people.
And I just feel like it's important to note that even though this is the first time we have the online and hybrid option publicly available. It is not technically the only time we've offered online hybrid. We had online hybrid because of the pandemic, and so our first inaugural class in 2020 was completely online. But Dean Fisk, you've been running online hybrid Master of Legal Studies and non-JD programs for, I won't say the dawn of time because that might age you, but for quite some time now.
For online, the dawn of time. Yes, yes. So yes, that's true. So we do have quite a bit of experience of putting together communities and classes at a very successful high level here at UCLA, but also with my having run these types of programs for 14 years, even before coming, well before being at UCLA. So yes, so we certainly have lots of successful experience doing this, even though this is the launch of the program for here at UCLA Law.
Thank you. And so let's just dive just a little deeper in terms of what we offer here at UCLA School of Law and the Master of Legal Studies program. So Dean Fisk mentioned flexibility, and flexibility is a big focus of the program. So we have two ways of completing the program. So we have the full-time option. The full-time option can be completed in 1 year. So really it's 9 months. You start in the fall, you finish and you graduate in the spring. And that's usually for recent graduates, people on F1 visas, and sometimes working professionals who can take a sabbatical from work to fit their studies in within that time. The other option is a part-time option. So the part-time option allows you to finish the Master of Legal Studies program anywhere between 2 to 4 years, and 70% of our students are part-time students. So that means they can still keep working at their full-time job during the day, and they take classes in the evenings. Maybe Dean Fisk, for this particular question and for this particular audience, why should, say, a working professional pursue a Master of Legal Studies program?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's really three types of students that we see drawn towards our program. So the first is what we call a career starters. So this isn't the working professional, but it's those who are recently out of undergraduate or within a few years. And so our program is really suited for those who are looking to kind of catapult into their careers in whatever projection, where having a foundation and sophisticated understanding of the law would be useful in that career area. The second is what we call a career enhancer. So a career enhancer are those who have been working for a number of years, whether that be 2 or 5 or 10 or 30 years, and are just kind of looking to take that next step, get up to that next level in their career. So whether that be I'm a director, I'm looking to get up to the C-suite, whether that be I'm looking to get up to director, whatever it might be, this program has proven very effective at getting our graduates the edge that they need, both from the UCLA name brand, but also from the knowledge and skills and sophistication and networking that we can provide. So those are the first two categories. The third is what we call a career shifter. So someone who may have been in their career for some time and are looking for something new, looking for something different, and using this program as a bridge to get to fill in the knowledge gap that they have into that new area, whatever it might be. And so our program has been able to successfully help people and navigate that shift as well. And sometimes that might even be consulting. So people who have years of experience in HR or whatever it might be, and are looking the last phase and the next phase of their career to be more on the consulting side, there are quite a few folks who want to do that.
Thank you. And so at UCLA, the Master of Legal Studies has 8 specializations, and so they're listed on the screen right now. And not all of these specializations will be moving to the online hybrid format. So the ones that have a little asterisk next to it, business law, employment and HR, entertainment and media law, health law and policy, and law and technology, are the ones that are moving to our online hybrid format. So I don't know, Dean Fisk, if you had anything there to add in terms of the specializations and which ones are moving before I move on, but I thought I'll get your feedback here.
Absolutely. So first off, the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about how everyone can do a portion of the degree online, and then the elective classes is what these ones are, where if you're interested in being in one of the specializations that has the asterisk, one of those 5, then yes, you can do the classes 100% online. But if you're close, if you're local, then you could choose to come to campus still. So it's your choice. You can do all online for it. You could do all on campus, or you can do a mix of both. And so we've really designed it to be kind of the ultimate flexibility for our students.
And I should just add general studies, which is down the bottom. General studies means no specialization. General studies just allows you to pick and choose the courses that fall under the other specializations, where you're basically curating the program based on your career goals or career interests. So if you're, for example, see a course in business law and entertainment and media law and law and technology that you like, then maybe best to just do general studies. That way you can pick and choose. So that's what general studies is. It's not its own separate specialization. And so as Dean Fisk we'll break down the program a little bit more in terms of what it entails and what you can expect. So we have 3 phases of the Master of Legal Studies program. So phase 1 is the core curriculum. And that's where you basically do your courses with other Master of Legal Studies that you'll be starting with, your peers, basically. So you go through that program, you start it and go through those courses together. And then phase 2 is your specialization courses. So that's when you'll start to break out into different specializations. The phase 3 is your capstone. So the culmination of all your work is the capstone piece. And you'll see that phase 1, the core curriculum, you can do it in an online or hybrid fashion. Phase 2 will be dependent on which specialization you choose. And then phase 3, the capstone can be completed online. But Dean Fisk, what can a typical schedule look like, say for a part-time student or working professional who's going through the Master of Legal Studies program in maybe and they're taking 2 years to complete the program? What would their schedule look like?
Sure thing. Yeah, so as a part-time student, you do have quite a bit of flexibility as to how many classes you want to take each semester. And so most of our part-time students do 2 classes in a semester. 80% plus choose to do that, but the other 20% opt to start with 1 or stick with 1, and that naturally would take a little longer. But for the typical student, quote unquote, that does 2 classes at a time, what that would look like is for the core curriculum component, everyone would have for part-time would have a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, would go 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And all these classes are live online together with the professor. And so that's kind of what you can expect for the first year of the program under the core curriculum. So if you do the classes, if you choose the online section, then both those Tuesday, Thursday nights are both meet online on Zoom with a professor and each other. And then if you choose the hybrid section, that Tuesday night would be on campus at UCLA, and the Thursday night would be online on Zoom live. And so that's what you can expect for the first year of the program. Then when you hit the elective phases in the second year, then that's totally dependent on which classes you choose. The online electives are all lined up in the evenings online and can be start anytime from 6 or later, Monday through Thursday, as far as what you can expect there. If you choose instead for your elective classes to come on campus, then those classes could be, morning, afternoon, early evening. This kind of depends on what class you select and what the availability is. And so that's what you can expect for the classes. Now, students doing 2 classes a semester would be just about 6 hours of class time in live class. And then you can expect about 12 hours or so of work on average a week studying. So that's 18 to 20 hours or so a week total if you do 2 classes at a time. So that's kind of what you can expect as far as time is concerned.
Thank you. And then what about, not to neglect our full-time audience, so what about our full-time student? What would if they're pacing towards finishing in 9 months, what would that schedule look like for them?
Yeah, for sure. So the full-time schedule is very much appropriately called full-time because there's certainly no time to work full-time. Now we do have some students who can navigate maybe say 5 to 10 hours of working, and you can get away with that. But for full-time, you can expect those same nighttime hours that I just mentioned, 6:30 to 9:30, Tuesday, Thursday. But then additionally, you would have classes ranging throughout the day because you're doing simultaneously the core curriculum and elective classes at the same time. That's how you speed it up into 2 semesters, is doing both at the same time. So thus, you would spend a couple, at least 2 or 3 days on campus taking classes, and then the evening classes, and also all the extra time studying. So that's certainly at least a 40-hour a week load doing both classes and also the studying.
Thank you. And I know you've mentioned it already, but just in case just to be clear, and just in case the question pops up again, but for a lot of our audience who maybe are looking at this program and they're in different states, are our lessons recorded? Are the classes recorded lectures and they listen to it later? Are they live are they live classes? I know you mentioned it, but just to repeat what you said.
For sure, yeah. So they are. We have designed the class knowing that that we want the maximum quality experience possible for each student, and that's being engaged with the professor live in that kind of experience with each other and with the professor. And as such, all classes are live, and so they are together. And so as those times mentioned are all Pacific time. And so if you're in, like the Eastern time zone, then it would be, starting at 9 p.m. or so. And so that's would go late into the evening. If you live in, I don't know, Hawaii or something, it'd be earlier in the day. But so it kind of depends on what time zone you are in for what time the classes will be. But the expectation is that you're there and that you attend. But we totally get it, regardless of your time zone, that sometimes you have to miss. Sometimes you have, called into a board meeting last minute, or, emergency comes up. That's totally fine, totally understandable. Just communicate with the professor. That's all. That's all we ask. And as long as it isn't like a totally regular thing on a weekly basis or anything, then the professors totally understand the situation, and that's fine. All classes are recorded for you to view later under those types of instances.
And then last question before we start jumping into the application, but for someone that is electing to be a completely online student, are there any in-person requirements? Are they expected to be on campus at any point during their time as a student in the Master of Legal Studies program?
Yeah, for all students, online or hybrid, whichever, no matter what, all students, we need to be here on campus from August 3rd to August 7th. So that is our launch week. And so for those 5 days, that's a Saturday through a Wednesday, we want people from all over the world to come here to UCLA as we really want to make sure everyone builds a strong cohort bond with each other, to really meet each other and build strong relationships with your fellow classmates in your cohort. And then you'll be able to take those relationships that you formed during those 5 days with you online, or to whatever format you're doing the degree, starting a couple of weeks later for the rest of it. So that's the only time that's required for you to be on campus if you're planning on doing the online option. The next time could be graduation, where you come. That's technically optional, but naturally most people will want to come. But that launch week is required, August 3rd through 7th.
Thank you. And I see some people raising their hands. Dean Fisk and myself will allow questions at the end. So thank you for your patience while we go through the slide deck and making sure we hit all the important parts, but we'll make sure that we leave questions at the end to answer your questions. For now, you can pop your questions in the Q&A and we'll definitely get to them. So we'll move now directly to the application. So, oh, actually, no, I wanted to include this slide. Dean Fisk, you might remember this, but we shared a video of some of our alums who shared 3 words that they had to describe the Master of Legal Studies program to them. And if you haven't seen the video yet, it is on our LinkedIn page and on our social media accounts. And other students also joined in to share their 3 words. And some of the words that came up the most were challenging, rewarding, fun. And I feel like even for me as an administrator, challenging, rewarding, and fun, it reigns true for me. I don't know about you, Dean Fisk, but I feel like that's very accurate of what the Master of Legal Studies program is, but also the overall experience for our students.
Yeah, 100%. And these are definitely the themes we saw over and over again, where with the sophisticated level of class that we have and the challenging atmosphere, I thought it was very appropriate that challenging was first, because you should want to be challenged, right? That's why you're coming to UCLA, that you're doing it to be challenged in a good way, because iron sharpens iron. So if you're strong, you're smart, you're experienced, then this is the place for you to come and be even more of that when you're done. But with that challenge comes reward, right? In that you can learn so much more and think about things in ways you've never thought about before, and meet people that you've never met before. And then with that kind of challenge that you rise up to meet comes fun. Maybe it's a twisted kind of fun, but it's it's fun. And so that's from day one of being admitted, from the admitted students events, and the people you meet, and the networking we have, and just in the classroom experience, and just it's really enjoyable. And that's always the feedback we get from a lot of our alums.
And a lot of so the other one that came up a lot was supportive, and I feel like that is true of our team here, and also the students really supporting each other, as well as the law school supporting our students. So I would add supportive and to that list. But as I teased earlier, let's now dive into the application. So without I mean, the application process is competitive, and that's the truth. And we want to make sure that everyone is able to put their best foot forward and successfully apply to the Master of Legal Studies program. And that's why we hold these information application tip sessions twice a month, really, throughout the whole cycle. So we really want to be here to help you. But outside of these information sessions, you can also connect with us through our advising sessions or through email if you can't attend one of those. But we host 4 to 5 advising sessions each week at varying times. And it's a time where you can meet with us to speak specifically about your options, specifically about your situation, and talk about the program and how we can, really assist you. And so if you haven't already, sign up for those advising sessions, and you could have some more one-on-one time, but also sometimes a great time to meet the other people that are applying to the Master of Legal Studies program. On the screen right now is the current makeup of our M.L.S class profile, so it won't include the students that have been admitted for this upcoming cycle. But as you can see, it's very diverse. We have an age range of 19 to 72. Our average age is 36. We have 67% female, 65% students of color, with a wide range of work experience, and 32% of our students hold other degrees, so other master's degrees, maybe even PhDs. But this is just to show that the admissions committee is looking for a diverse audience. So when you are applying to our program, please keep in mind that the review committee are looking for reasons to accept you, not deny you. So keep that in mind. And now we'll jump onto how to make your application stand out. So again, QR code, request the application. The QR code is on the screen right now if you haven't done so. When you do that, you'll receive an email. You receive a link. You'll receive a link via email. And my first tip is to check your spam folder in case that email lands in your spam folder. The link will take you to UCLA Graduate Division's application portal. That is the only place that we accept our applications. So UCLA Graduate Division's application portal, again, is the only place we accept applications. You will create your account. You'll start entering your contact information, your information details, and then you can save and log out, log in as many times as you need to finish the online application. It is a fairly quick, I would say, application to go through. Most of the applications biographical information. The next one I'll jump down to number 6 on the list, which is transcripts. And reason being is transcripts used to be something that would take some time to get to us. And so I'd always tell students do this first. But now with electronic transcripts, they come fairly quickly. So electronic transcripts or e-transcripts can be sent directly from your school to us via email. They can also be sent to you via email pretty quickly. And you can upload a copy of your transcripts to your application almost within the same day sometimes. So it's a much faster process with electronic transcripts. We do accept unofficial transcripts during the application stage. So unofficial transcripts are transcripts that you yourself have uploaded onto your application, okay? So whether you've scanned them and uploaded them or downloaded them, uploaded them, if they've come from you, they are unofficial, and that is fine during the application stage. Once you're accepted, so if you're accepted into the program, that's when we will ask you to provide official transcripts. Official transcripts are transcripts that come directly from your school straight to us, and that is usually now done electronically as well. So again, a very quick and easy process. For those that are international students, the same thing applies. We still need your transcripts. You can submit an unofficial copy, so a copy of your transcripts that you already have. We will, if you're accepted, request that you submit official transcripts directly from the school. The only added extra thing that international students do need to do is provide us a copy of your diploma. So your diploma, your certificate, that where you're awarded your degree, you need to provide a copy of that as well with your application. But if you have very specific questions about that, because for those that have come from a non-English speaking country, we would need the English translation as well as in the native language. So if you have very specific questions, if you're an international applicant and want to know about what you need to provide, come to those advising sessions. We can actually check the country where you were awarded your degree and let you know what the requirements are. If you can't come to them, then email M.L.S at law.ucla.edu, and we'll put that email in the chat where you can email us specifically, so we can let you know is what's required from you as an international applicant. So the next document I'll talk about is the resume, and I'll just go through this just quickly, and then I'll ask Dean Fisk a quick question. But the resume is about featuring you, so your jobs, your level of responsibility, any accolades, any accomplishments that you have, and so you'd want to include a resume that's typical of a resume that you would submit when you're applying for a job. I wouldn't say you need to stick to a one-page format for your resume. You can always flesh out those details, particularly if you have, you know, publications, particularly have a long work history of relevant experience, then yeah, you can definitely provide more than a one-page document. But Dean Fisk, for you here, when the admissions committee are looking at an application, you know, we say that they balance strength of academic background and work history. Can you dive a little bit deeper into what the review committee exactly are looking for candidates?
Absolutely. So those two things you mentioned definitely are the two primary factors for admission. So as mentioned, the strength academic background, which includes, you know, where you went to undergraduate and or your graduate degrees, and what you studied, you know, what types of classes you take, how well did you do in them. That's all looked at by the admissions committee. Then the second thing is the work history and accomplishments of the individual. So the closer someone is to their schooling, then the heavier the factor is for the strength of academic background. The further away someone is from your schooling, then the more the work history component is put into play. And so thus, for each person, it's looked at a little bit differently, just based on who you are and what your experience is. So that's a little bit of how it's weighed there. Now we'll talk about this soon, but the purpose for doing the degree is a very, very important one as well. That kind of, you know, underlies both of those two factors.
And then just a quick question there, but our applicants who are just recent graduates who may not have enough work experience, are their applications treated differently from, say, someone who has work experience for 20+ years? Is one given more preference over the other?
Yeah, so not with the balancing, not I wouldn't say a preference. It's just that the strength academic background then is just balanced much more heavily if that's all you have to lean on. So it's not that, oh, you don't have work history, you're out. It's just that we would look primarily at the strength academic background then at that point. And so then that's kind of how we look at it when balancing those two factors.
Okay, great. Thank you. And now we'll move on to those two documents that Dean Fisk was mentioning. So there are two documents that you will be required to write. They are the personal statement and the statement of purpose. I'll start with the personal statement first. The personal statement is your story. So how did you become the person that you are today? So tell us a bit about you so that we can learn about you. What motivates you? Have you faced any challenges or adversity? You know, your story basically is what the personal statement is. And then the statement of purpose, as Dean Fisk mentioned, is a very important document. It is about what your purpose is for doing the degree. So why are you applying to the Master of Legal Studies program? How will the Master of Legal Studies program assist you with your currently in your career, but also with your career goals? So both of them have a 500-word limit. And so that's about a page. But they have two very different prompts. Remember, personal statement is your story. How did you become who you are today? And then statement of purpose is about your purpose. So Dean Fisk, just to review, because you are on the review committee. So what is it? Well, I guess just more generally, do you have any tips on what should be in a personal statement versus a statement of purpose?
Yeah, so since we're one thing that we're really looking for is what your purpose for the degree is, because we want to make sure that that our degree is going to really help bolster you. And so thus, if you're clear with your purpose, you know, maybe it's, I'm in this position, I'm trying to get to that position, or I'm entering into a field and the law is very relevant to that field, you know, whether it be HR, compliance, you know, entertainment, whatever it might be, then okay, well, that makes sense. Our degree will help you a lot. But if instead you say things like, well, you know, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, I might want to do this or that, or maybe the other thing, then that's more like, well, we don't know how we can help you. And so thus that would be a negative. Now, we don't expect everyone to have a totally perfect crystal ball, but you can lay out like you believe this is what you want to do, but you're open to it. That type of thing is okay. But another thing is that we expect this Master of Legal Studies degree to be your end destination in law, meaning that this is all you need. You don't need anything else because you're not here to be a lawyer. So you're here because you want a sophisticated understanding of law without being a lawyer. And so thus those that say, I'm going to do this degree and then I'll go into a JD later, or I want to do this degree to see if I might want to do a JD. That's looked very negatively upon because this is your end destination law. That's the point. That's the purpose of our degree. And so thus, if those thoughts are in your head, that's okay. Just not the time to put them down on paper. So make a clear purpose for how this degree is going to add value to your career. Absent that, and then if you end up going down that road later, okay, fine, that's your business, right? But the strongly suggested not to have that be part of your purpose now, to have an independent purpose from that. So that's the first thing. As far as personal statement is concerned, because the admissions committee really meticulously looks at each applicant, because it's competitive to get into this program, you aren't going to be able to hide things, right? So if you had a bad class or two in undergrad, we're going to see it. Like, there it is, it's on your transcript. If there's a reason for why something happened, that's personal statement's a great way to weave in your story and to say, like, in undergraduate, I was, had these medical issues and I was supporting this person, or, whatever it might be. This is the perfect time to tell your story, to tell us who you are, how you got to where today. And maybe that includes adversity, and maybe that includes something negative that shows in your application, whatever it might be. The personal statement is the place to weave it in.
That's a great tip. Thank you, Dean Fisk. My only other one is make sure you don't copy and paste your statement of purpose in your personal statement. Dean Fisk gave some really, really good tips then as to what to include in both, and they are two separate documents. So do not copy and paste the same answer to your statement of purpose as your personal statement. That's my last tip. And then letters of recommendation, before I forget. So letters of recommendation, we need two. At least two need to be submitted in order for your application to be considered complete. But you yourself do not have to wait for the letters to come in for you to submit. All that's needed from you is to put in the contact information of your recommenders into the system, and then you can it will allow you to proceed. It will allow you to submit. The review committee do allow some extra days for those recommenders to get their letters in, and the system itself prompts your recommender that you have requested a letter of recommendation from them, and it also sends them a reminder in case they haven't received it yet. So all that is needed from you in terms of your recommender are the contact details. And there's no set template for your recommenders to use. More often than not, it's about a page, so 2-3 paragraphs at most. There's no set people that we want to be your recommenders. I would say if you're a recent graduate, then yeah, definitely maybe an academic reference. And then if you are further out, then we don't expect you to still be in touch with your professors. You can just do professional letters of recommendation. As a good rule of thumb, no family or friends to recommend you. If you have very specific questions, the advising sessions are a great place to talk about that more specifically. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on were just standardized tests, the English and then the English requirement test. For the English requirement test, that's for our international audience. Again, a great place for you to ask those questions are those advising sessions. But generally, if you've come from an English-speaking country, you do not need to do the English standardized test. If you have not done so or you are unsure, reach out to us. And again, we can look specifically at the country and let you know what is needed if you do need the English standardized test. But Dean Fisk, common question, and it even came up in my advising session this morning, is do students need to take a standardized test in order to apply to our program? People who take standardized tests looked on more favorably than those that do not.
Yeah, the vast majority of applications do not have a standardized test, and that's totally okay. So it is truly optional. It's not expected whatsoever. The only time that it can be helpful is, it's when we look at your strength of academic background. We're doing that because we want to we want to see how strong you'll perform in our classroom, because whatever classroom we've had before, our classroom is much more rigorous than what you've had before. And so if you perform poorly before, then how are you going to do in a more rigorous classroom? So that's taking a standardized test. If you do have a weaker strength of academic background that's somewhat recent, then a standardized test might help, right? So if you can show, well, you know, these other circumstances, I'm better now. See, here's a test score where I dominated. And so if for that, look at, you know, what's the average LSAT score for the JD program? What is the average GMAT or GRE from Anderson's Business School for their MBA programs? If you're in that range, then that's really good. But more often than not, the standardized test score hurts applicants rather than helps, because if they, you know, if you're, oh, my grades are good, but then you submit a test score that is, you know, lower than those marks I just gave you, well, now you've kind of given us a piece of evidence that shows maybe you can't handle the rigor of the classroom. So that's, I'd say more often than not, and it hurts. And but it's to answer the basics of the question is it's most people don't submit a test score.
Okay, thank you. All right. So next, I'm just going to dive into the scholarships a little bit more, because this year we are offering more scholarships than we have in previous years, and last year, the Master of Legal Studies program awarded around $750,000 in scholarship money, and so that's in line with UCLA's public mission of accessibility to the highest level of education. And because of that, we do offer these scholarships, and I do encourage you all to look at them on our website to apply to those that you would be eligible for. So students can receive more than one scholarship award. You will automatically be considered for the Bruin Scholarship. So you'll see the Bruin Scholarship there. For the Bruin Scholarship, you'll look at strength of academic background and work history. The review committee will look at strength of academic background and work history to determine that scholarship award. If you are a university or healthcare employee, so that's a full-time university or healthcare employee, then you automatically receive that scholarship in place of the Bruin one. And then applications are required for the Outstanding Achievement Scholarship, which is a merit-based scholarship. Blue and Gold Scholarship is a means-based scholarship. So if you're experiencing financial hardship, we've got a scholarship for that. If you work for a government or nonprofit sector, then we do have a scholarship specifically for you too, or if you're looking to work within that field. So definitely look on our website in relation to those scholarships and if you're eligible and if you qualify. And then when you're working on the application, there is a specific section of the application where you would apply for those scholarships. And I would encourage you to do so in the application stage. Okay, that's really your one bite of the apple in terms of applying for the scholarships. So you don't want to skip that, especially if you are looking for ways to lower the cost of tuition. So in terms of the scholarships, like I mentioned, you can be considered for more than one. You just have to apply. The scholarships are open for domestic students, international students. If you are in California, outside of California, those scholarships are open to everyone, okay? But very important key, and if leaving nothing else, it's just make sure you apply for them during the application stage. I think that's all I wanted to say about those scholarships. Oh, okay. And so what happens after you submit your application? So if you've submitted your application, you've sent it off, if you're a finalist for admission, so if that means if you're a finalist for admission to the Master of Legal Studies program, you receive an email from us that's going to invite you to complete a case assessment and attend a short interview. So not everyone's going to be a finalist, not everyone will receive that invitation. Only if you're a finalist will you receive an invitation to do the case assessment and the short interview. So what is the case assessment and what is the interview? The case assessment will have two cases that we will send you well in advance. Those very short cases that you will read. It's on a very exciting topic, actually, a very interesting topic. I would say exciting, interesting. And they're about 2 pages each at most. And then we will ask you questions that you would answer on a recorded setting. So you would record your answers to those questions. After you complete that, the later part, there's a written prompt that will pop up. The written prompt has nothing to do with those cases you write. It's complete. The prompt is right there, and then you will type in your written response to that prompt. After you've completed that, a window will pop up for you to schedule your 15-minute oral interview with a member of member of staff and a member of the review committee. That interview is specifically about asking you questions about the application. So it's not going to ask you questions about the case or the written prompt. It will just ask you questions about what you included in your application. And it's a great time for you to also ask the panel members questions that you have about the program. So it's more of a dialogue. It is a time for you to ask us questions. But Dean Fisk, some people might find this a little daunting or a little scary or intimidating. What would you say to those people who are terrified of reading a case when they don't have any legal knowledge whatsoever?
This process is meant and designed for you, so thus it's expected that you don't have any sort of legal knowledge whatsoever coming in. Now, if you have some, then okay, that's fine, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to benefit you. It's not expected for you to know anything. And before you even read the cases, there's a couple of videos that I've made to help kind of illuminate that path for you and to point out some things for you to be able to understand how to read these things a little better before you embark on the journey of reading them. And so thus look at it as kind of as a little whirlwind adventure tryout of how to do these cases in advance. So thus it's meant to be kind of fun, but yes, make sure to read them in detail because we will be asking questions about them. So thus it's kind of a fun process and will make you think a little bit differently.
Wonderful. And if you are invited to the to do the case assessment, know that you can take your notes with you to the recorded portion of it. You don't have to try and memorize all the facts and the details. You can take your notes with you. If you wait until June 3 to submit your application, and you are a finalist, you have until June 10. So only 7 days to complete the interview, the case assessment. So another reason to apply early is if you are a finalist, you do have a little bit more time to complete the assessment. So again, only finalists are invited to the case assessment and the interview. Not everyone that applies will have to do that. All right. Before we answer questions, I will say that there is an application fee. The application fee is $135. If you are international, it is $155. There is a fee waiver. Fee waivers are only open to US citizens or permanent residents. If you're an international student, you cannot apply for a fee waiver. If you're applying for a fee waiver, it is means-based. So you would need to provide documentation to support the reasons for why you're asking for a means-based fee waiver. So as an example, that's for a current student who's receiving financial aid. If your household income is below a certain threshold, or if you are receiving state benefits like CalFresh or Medi-Cal, and you will need to provide supporting documentation in order to get that fee waiver approved. All right. Let's start answering some questions. I guess Dean Fisk, to kick things off, and I know I've mentioned it, but coming from you, what is the benefit to applying now on May 23 as opposed to waiting an extra week or so to apply on June 3?
Absolutely. So we have we've lined up for all students who are admitted to the program a series of events that occur all the way up to the start of the program. And the sooner that you can get in, and the sooner you apply, you're immediately sent to the admissions committee, who immediately reviews your application. And so thus the sooner you can get engaged and connected to those things. Additionally, there's coming up to the June 3rd deadline, there will be more and more applications that come in closer to that date. And so if you can submit it within the next few days here, then you'll be able to jump ahead and kind of be put into the queue much earlier than a lot of those who will be much further behind those who wait till June 3rd. With that being said, if you're still putting together all your documents and things, no worries if you have to wait till June 3rd. Just know it'll take a little bit longer if you wait till then to submit it.